Well, it's Friday morning, and surprise, surprise, I am here back from our latest travels. And if I seem a little bit dazed, it's because I'm probably still jet lagged. Anyway, we were visiting family in Germany and got back really late after like 22 hours of travel and trains and planes and automobiles. I mean, that's kind of a cliche, but it's actually true. Um, when Wednesday, really late Wednesday. So yesterday was sort of a recovery day, and today is a test of of that recovery. So if I get a little bit vague or just sort of stop moving and talking, don't worry about it. It's just jet lag. I am back working on this octopus, and I'm going to continue painting these nice dark blue pearlescent circles on it in an effort to make it look more or less like this. Okay. And I tested some of these, and through the combination of dark blue and a lighter blue, I it they turn out like this. And so all of these spots are going to have this lighter blue on the inside, and the larger ones will be showing the yellow still. Anyway, I'll be working on that, and we'll see how that goes. So far, it's been going kind of okay. I need to finish up the big back end here, and then probably there's like a spot there that needs a spot, and a spot there that needs a spot. And I probably won't make an open circle in those areas, but just kind of a spot of the dark with with a dot of the lighter blue on the inside, kind of like that one. So let me give you an update on some things. One thing I can update you on is that the music is still not playing. As far as I know, the whole issue with Alexander Nakarada's music has not been resolved. Again, I don't really have a lot of information about what that is or what the status is, but I just know that there's been some sort of to do about it, which has been unfortunate because his music is really amazing and we do have permission to use it, of course. But in order to make sure that our stream is actually streamed and not cut off, we're not playing the music. So there just might be some times when there's just nothing. It'll be silence, and you'll hear the sounds of silence when I'm not talking or there's nothing going on in chat. Oh, speaking of which, my large print chat window isn't up and running. Yeah, and I should know where that is, but I don't know why I can't. That was a sigh. This has happened before, and I should know how to fix it, but after being gone and jet lagged and everything else, all I can do is look at this screen that I'm looking at and go, I really don't know. Not really know what to do here. So if you try to chat, I will put on my glasses and look intently through the tiny little strip about that, maybe about a quarter, no, not even that much, on my trifocals here that focus at that distance, and I'll get back to you. So I'm going to work on this octopus. I don't know how long it's going to take. It might take like the entire stream. I'm not really sure. And if I finish early with the octopus, which means before 2:00, then I will either work on the submarine base, which I filled in again because it didn't it didn't turn out as well as I wanted before I painted it. So I did some filling and more. It needs more sanding. And next to watching paint dry, watching sanding going on is the most thrilling part of this stream. So that's why it's relaxing. You know, watching paint dry, watching sanding going on. Sometimes you watch painting, sometimes something gets spilled, and that's always exciting because then there can be an oops. At any rate, yeah, I'm wandering. Music's not playing because there's an issue that I am not totally familiar with about the use of Alexander Nakarada's music. Again, we have permission to use it, but there's something going on in the background that is causing some sort of content ID alert, and that may or may not have been resolved while I was gone, but since I don't know for sure, I'm not going to take a chance. The other thing is that the schedule for this stream is again going to be erratic for a while. I'm going to be working on this today, but I will not be on Monday because of a family thing. These family things are fine. I mean, it's not a bad family thing. Don't think that. But another family event that I need to be at, basically dog watching. Yeah, doing dog watching again. Oh yeah, those eggs. Those eggs were really fun to paint. I should have gotten like a whole lot more of them, for the holiday. But I don't, so there. But I will be back Wednesday. And on Wednesday, I'll be definitely working on the bits of the submarine that yet still need to be done. I got some masking to do. I don't know. Maybe I'll try to get some of that stuff done over the weekend so that I can just finish it on Wednesday. It would be really nice, wouldn't it, to just be done with it? So I might get some stuff done over the weekend. Before I am tied up with dog watching on Monday and Tuesday. And if not, I'll work on it on Wednesday. So Wednesday will be the submarine and little bits of the submarine, and mostly working on the Apollo, which is proving to be somewhat challenging. So I'll be mainly trying to figure out what to do and trying different assembly techniques and trying to decide what to paint when. Paint it before you put it together, paint it after you put it together. If you paint it before you put it together and you got to do some filling and stuff like that, do you repaint it? Anyway, I'll be muttering on and on about that on Wednesday when I get back to the Apollo. But today, I haven't quite used up 15 minutes yet, so I need to chatter yet for, oh my God, 6 more minutes of not painting. Yeah, forget it. Might as well just get on with it. At some point, just got to get on with it. Are you, Jem? Are you going to ask for a flip, or should we wait for Who to come on? If Who does come on, I don't know. So I'm using this pearlescent paint. It's the dark blue. That's the color I've been using for these rings. And then I've got this green blue, the lighter blue, for the inside of the rings to make it look like the blue striped octopus. This stuff is very gelatinous. So that means that when I squeeze it out, flip, right? Just one flip. It is one way to use up some extra time. So why not do some flips here? If Who comes on and asks for flips, paint, no paint. Go on the floor. Bye. Hopefully, the only thing that'll fall on the floor today is the flip thing. 2-to-1, paint. Okay, guess I'll paint. I need to take these off so that I can see close up. because as I've said, they're supposed to be trifocals, but I think they're like pentafocals or something. There's all these just little tiny areas on the lens that focus at different distances. Yeah, okay. I'm going to try to squeeze out a small amount of this, which is usually hard to do because it just sort of splurts out. There, it's not bad. And this extra here, I'll just use this too. I don't want to waste it. So let me start by, I just want to paint just a dot here. And just as I was looking at this, there's just some spots that look unfinished. Okay, now I want to paint more of these sort of irregular circles, sort of these irregular circles all over the body of the rest of the body of this thing. What I want to not do is just make it look like they're all in rows, you know? To be kind of irregularly spaced, and it's really tempting to just make a row of these things, and then it would just look stupid. So I'm going to kind of make them a little bit less than circular and more irregular too. It look like nature did it and not me. Although, I am natural, of course. That would have otherwise be pretty weird if I wasn't. It's another one of those, word usage things. My brother likes to go on about some of those, when you use a word and you go, actually, that's kind of weird the way we use it. And one of them is natural. I mean, organic, right? Organic foods. When you think about it, I mean, I'm not encouraging you to think about it because then you end up having 20-minute conversations like I had with my brother about this. How much of your food is inorganic, right? I mean, if you're saying it's organic, you're kind of implying that something that isn't organic is like inorganic. But that's dumb because, I mean, it's all your food is almost completely organic. Otherwise, you'd be eating like nails and bricks and things like that. That kind of conversation comes from somebody who once had organic chemistry, where the definition of organic was basically carbohydrate stuff. Anyway, yeah, so most of us always are eating organic food because if it were inorganic, then we wouldn't get any nutrition at all. So that's one of those things. I'm sure there are others that will come to me if I keep rattling on and on about this, which I'm sure you would hope that I would stop right now. But without the music, something's got to give, right? So anyway, as I talk, I'm sure other things that will be equally silly and annoying would come up. One of the annoying things that I've been doing recently is collecting people's ideas for game shows for people 65 and over 65. And I can do that. It's like it's okay to laugh at yourself if you're part of the demographic. At least that's my understanding, is that it's okay for me, that it's not an offensive thing. I don't know if it is or not. Maybe it is. If you're offended, then just mute the stream. The game shows for those over 65. So maybe I'll share a few of those with you. That can be, why not? Why not share a couple with you? Maybe you can add some. So one of them is, didn't that used to be? And the reason that comes up is because when you're older, you remember where things were. Okay, like maybe there used to be in Arlen's. If anybody knows what that is, but that was kind of a department store. It was sort of a discount department store. Okay, not really quite like what would you say, like a Walmart or anything. It had kind of that feel, and that there was just a lot of stuff there, and the prices were fairly low, but you could get a lot of different things. Okay. So that got torn down, of course, because it was from a long time ago, and I think it got replaced by like a block of apartments. So the way this game show would work is that you'd see a picture of what something is now, and you go, "Didn't that used to be? Like, didn't that used to be in Ireland's?" A lot of that goes on in conversations. I remember when there was a park here. It was the playground. Didn't that used to be the playground I played in? That kind of stuff. So didn't that used to be? That's another one. Let's see. Another one would be a couple show. Not quite like the Newlywed Game or something like that. But, you know, what it would be, like this. You were there with me when we saw it. What's the title? And that happens because somebody can't remember what the title was. Okay. And in order to win the game, you have to know what the title was, but you just sort of shift the burden to your partner. You were there with me. And that may or may not be true. Okay. It may or may not be the case that your game partner was actually there with you or not. But nonetheless, that's how that game show would work. And of course, there's always, are they still alive? Because you're remembering like actors or politicians or something from quite a long time ago. And you're not really sure if they're even still around anymore. So that's the question. Are they still alive? Some of these ideas are taken from actual conversations, So how does that look? It doesn't look too bad. It looks sort of, yeah, kind of okay. It'll look a lot better, as you can see. It looks a lot better when the lighter blue is on the inside of the rings. They really kind of pop them. So then we've got the eyes, and the pupil of the eye is vertical, and I'm going to paint that black, okay? But the rest of the eyeball, it's really hard to tell from the pictures what the rest of the eyeball is supposed to look like. If you look at this picture, the body's back here, and there's the eyeball, and it looks like it's kind of a bright orange, like that color. I wonder what that color was. That would be a good one. I wonder if there's like a pearlescent, kind of a pearlescent orange color. I could look at my, well, this orange. I mean, I could just use orange. Let me, well, obviously I have way more, there's the blob of paint, way more paint than I need. That's pretty clear, isn't it? Anybody need some dark blue pearlescent paint for anything? I want to let that dry for just a little bit before I start putting the light blue inner circles in. But while I'm doing that, I can try some of these other pearlescents and see which one might make for a good eyeball. I've got this is what I use for the body. So let me put it on that so I can see how it looks on the actual color that I'm using. Why not? I'm getting paint on the brush, but I'm not really getting any on. Really, do it this way. So that could be the eyeball if I used Pro Orange. I guess off. It's just a toothpick, right? One would think that I don't need to save a toothpick. I will. I'm cheap. I think I've mentioned this before. When I grew up, when I was, building models and stuff, I always had this sense that if I used something up, if I used it up, I'd never get it again. You know, which I don't know. That may or may not have been true. I can't. You know, I'm not going to say it wasn't true, but that led me to. Anyway, things like science kits and whatever, just not using them as well as I could have because I didn't want to use up the chemicals. Because if I used up the chemicals, then I wouldn't have them anymore. And if I didn't have them anymore, then, well, then they'd be gone. So there, that it's a nice color, but can't see it. You can sort of see the orange spot there, but that just doesn't work. So far the orange looks like it's working pretty well. I'm just going to put this away because it's not going to get used. Then there's this other one, red ochre. I have no idea what this is going to look like. I could look it up on the color chart and then I would have an idea of what it looks like. Hi, Ola. Thanks for joining in. I'm doing like a one-off kind of thing here today. I'm going to be working on this octopus today, Friday, and then I'll be off on Monday, but back again next Wednesday, and I hope next Friday. Okay. Although that is a very important religious holy day for a lot of people. It's not for everybody. So, and I don't think that relaxing painting is really an abuse of it. So I'll probably be Wednesday and Friday of next week, but not Monday. So I hope you're doing well. It's been quite a while since I've been on because of our family trip. We're actually closer to you while I was gone than here. We were in Germany, so that was cool. We were seeing family there. This color might be pretty good, or maybe I don't know. Maybe it's just not distinct enough. What I'm trying to do is waste a little bit of time while I'm waiting for the dark blue paint to dry before it should be a good color, but it's not, maybe not saturated enough. So what I'm trying to do is, if I look at the picture of the octopus, that's the eye there, and it's just a little bit orange compared to the rest of the body. Okay, so I was trying to look at the pearlescent paints that I have to see which would work best. The orange is actually a little too orange. The yellow is way too yellow. The red ochre, that's really not too bad. It kind of shows. I might end up using that. The orange, one of these two. I'll have to decide later. Put my glasses on to see what you said. No, I've been away until just really really late Wednesday night. Just got back, and we weren't, you know, dealing with working with family the entire time I was gone. So you were the very first to order the complete. God, how many different colors were there? 144, something like that. So I'll have to catch that. Were you like featured? Were you? Did you become an army painter celebrity? Yeah, let me know. I think that's pretty amazing. The very first one. So when how many colors again, and when will you actually get it? I think I'm going to use the orange. Otherwise it just won't show very much. The red ochre is pretty good, but it's not going to. But it's not the same. Mhm. Well, let me see. Let me paint this. Paint the eyes in now so I can see what they look like. You become are you going to become maybe like an army painter spokesperson or something? That would be cool. I need the smallest little dot of this. There's a dot. I'm going to paint these on now because if I'm going to paint the pupil, which is nicely indented here, I'm going to want this to have dried. I'm going to be painting very carefully the area where the eyeball goes is sort of defined, not extremely well defined, but kind of defined. Ah, okay. Oh, okay. I was just wondering. I said I wasn't able to see it because we were visiting family in Germany and wasn't watching anything other than the baby uh, there. So, well, not entirely true. Sometimes we paid attention to the parents. Um, what I was wondering was if you were like featured by Army Painter, are you like a celebrity now, an Army Painter celebrity? Would they single you out? That would be pretty cool. Also, I forgot how many colors. It was like 144, something like that. It was just this huge, massive number of different colors. I wish I could see. Oh my, 116. So you were promoted by Army Painter. I mean, that's really cool. Maybe we should do that. No, it's too late now. We're not the first ones. So when do you actually get the paints? Because you had to pre-order them. I don't suppose we can get promoted by Army Painter if I just buy like another 4 or 5 of these little brushes. Trying to be very precise with the eye here. Pretty uh, prominent thing. Doesn't it come? Doesn't it come with like not a display rack? Well, kind of a display rack, but doesn't it come with a like a rack and everything to hold them all? I'm just going to keep popping these on and off. My large print thing isn't working. Oh my. Okay. So they came. Oh my, you became a celebrity. That's really cool. An army painter. I mean, they must have quite a reach. So maybe, I mean, this could really have a big impact on your viewership. I'm going to have to catch that this weekend after I catch up from my jet lag. I'll have to catch up on watching the videos that I watch, and that's definitely one. So they came to your place and hand delivered it. Did you know did they like call ahead, or was it like a publisher, like a surprise? Why am I even asking that? That's kind of a silly thing to ask, isn't it? They said, "Oh, by the way, do you mind if we just pop in and deliver?" Did you know that they were bringing like a whole camera crew and everything? Whereas that's not much warning. You might have had to have like 3 kid trips doing things, but I don't know that you'll ever need to buy paints again. I'll have to tell you this, that I would be personally, I would be overwhelmed by the number of different colors. There would be moments when I mean, I already dither about colors, and I've got what, like maybe there's 50 of them. Maybe not. I haven't counted them. But I mean, you've seen me do that. Go to the color chart and dither over what color I want, and something comes close. But having that many choices. Okay, so their video is on the Army Painters site, and you're putting yours up tomorrow? Okay. All right. Yeah, the video from Army Painter. I haven't been watching them, so I'll have to do that just so I can catch you. That's really cool. Okay. I'll have to look at their YouTube site and watch the one that they put up. That's really neat. They got some advertising because they were handing over the set and everybody could see it, but you also got promoted, which means that you might be able to get a pretty decent sized increase in your viewership. That would be really neat. So I'll have to look up the Army Painter one. Sorry, my large print screen isn't working, and even if it did, it somehow got further away, so I'm not sure I'd be able to read it. So I'm just going to keep popping glasses on and off as I look up, which isn't doing me very much good at all because the focus and then refocus. Oh well. The not benefits of aging. Okay, that color looks pretty decent. And when I put the pupil in, after this dries, I think I'll probably, rather than paint, I'm going to try to use a fine felt tip pen. I think it will look okay as an eyeball. My hand is not as steady. I don't know if that's jet lag or what. I was tempted. I don't know. I need to put something like around the eyeball. Here, there's little spots, little dark blue spots. I'm going to try that. They're not really circles, but they're just little marks. Okay, so you got. I'm going to have to just look at it online to get a real sense of it. So there's 20. Basically, there's 27 colors with different shades of that same color, like from a really light pastel to a super saturated one. Maybe an analogy that would make sense to me is like the paint color strips that you get when you buy house paint, like interior house paint, is that you get a color that just ranges in saturation. Maybe that might be how it works. That's pretty neat, though. Okay, so I hope I don't mess this up, but right around the eyes, there's just these little dots, right? And they're blue because right now the eyes just look sad. All just sticking out. Ugh, hiccups, great. Okay, well that's really neat because sometimes exactly that you know what color you want, but you don't want to end up mixing it with black or that helps. Just that little dot. You don't want to have to mix it with white or black or something to get the saturation right. And that could be, so they do that for you. Actually, if I were a more serious modeler, not that I'm serious while I'm doing this, I am serious, but if I were serious in the sense of better at it, okay, I mean, not kind of serious, if I were seriously decent modeler and painter, it's something I would actually kind of look into. I will not be able to respond to that until I paint these dots. And then I will look up with my glasses to see what it was that you did, that you just posted. I'm glad I looked at the picture because it looked really kind of barren until I put these little spots on. And then it's not exactly like the real, picture of the real thing, but it looks decent. Okay, clean that off now. E300s, that's only 2,000 more than I've got. Yeah. Well, Indian terrain building. Congratulations on that. That's really good. I do have to say that the videos that you do are really pretty amazing. the things that you build are really cool, but to be able to watch them and actually, kind of understand what it was that you were doing. Your editing is really excellent, I have to say, because it's not just little random bits of something, but you select the critical parts so that a watcher can actually tell what it is that you have done. And occasionally you even redo something, which is kind of refreshing for someone like me, who has the oops factor going for him. So congratulations on that. I mean, that's really good. You were going to buy those anyway, right? And so all of a sudden you got this great surprise of a boost for your channel. That's really good. And I think well deserved. You probably noticed that the music isn't playing for the same reason I talked about when I last streamed. What was it now? 2 weeks ago. I'm not even going to try. Still jet lagged, so orientation to time and place is a little bit rusty. Orientation to place isn't too bad because I know that I'm right here. That was I've used that joke before. That's kind of lame, but it's also true that I do know where I am. But I had to remind myself that it was actually Friday. Okay, and that I would be missing Monday, but coming back on Wednesday and Friday next week. After the Octopus, I'm getting back to the 95% completed, which means it will never be done, submarine. I think I said that. It's like an auto restorer. The automobiles, antique automobiles that you see for sale are always 95% restored. It's because I think it's just essentially impossible to finish the last 5% of anything. I can't say that that's absolutely okay. Now I need to be a little more careful with this color than the others. I need to paint inside the circle. Making the outside one go away, or the inside yellow. This is going to take forever. Okay, well, there's one. That's what one of these, can you see it there? One of these is going to look like. I'm not going to say what it's supposed to look like. I'm just saying this is what it is going to look like. Because what will be here. But congratulations on that. I'm going to have to catch that because it sounds like it was a pretty exciting moment. So did they warn you ahead of time that they were bringing Hemux, significant players at Army Painter? I'm sure they told you that it was going to be recorded and broadcast because people need to get permission to do that, right? One thing I'm glad about is that on the real Octopus, things are perfectly uniform. Isn't that one spot? It's the way it's light's reflecting, I guess. You know, I'm gonna have to clean my brush periodically, frequently. This paint is really viscous and it builds up on the tip of the brush. So instead of a fine point, what I end up with is a blobbo paint. Blobbo paint is not what I want. Oh, I looked up, and then when I looked down, my eyes were not focusing. Getting old really sucks. I mean, I would recommend that to everybody who's watching this. Is that things things just get a little bit harder, you know. Eyes don't focus, hand doesn't stay quite as steady. Can't think of things to say to fill the time because there's no music playing in the background. The game shows for those 65 and older that I mentioned, didn't that used to be? You were there with me. What was it? That's a couple's game where someone's asked a question they can't answer, and so they turn to their partner and say it's their fault. You were there. The most recent one I came up with was WYC. No. Yeah. Okay, erase, start over. WCYJUW. This show is, why can't you just use words? What's a YOLO? Thanks. Well, thanks for stopping in. And oh yeah, I know. You always have like 7 things to do. I just have to say I'm continuously impressed at how you're able to do the things that you do. Keeping your family going, keeping your stream going, do an amazing job of editing, and buying a whole lot of paint. So congratulations on that. But I will check the Army Painter site. I need to see you being handed this gigantic set of paints. Congratulations on that. Okay, well, I'll just say that pretty much what I'm looking at here is it's not perfection, but it's not too bad. These are coming along okay. I mean, that is to say, the ones I've done so far. That light blue really is nice on it. This really works. Um, okay, that's expensive. That you deserve to get special recognition for that. I hope they're successful in selling more sets. Well, have a good video session. and drive carefully. I really appreciate you stopping in. And hopefully we'll see you on Wednesday of next week. Those of you who don't watch Ole Brager's videos yet, you should, because he is actually a really good modeler. Does some amazing things with foam and other materials that I don't work with. Some of his terrain things are really spectacular. And what was it? Just like maybe a month ago, I kind of lose track of time. Posted a video of his construction of a Dungeons and Dragons table. I mean, a table for players that could accommodate a DM and 5 player stations. I think he said it took him like 2 solid weeks of construction to make it, and somehow or other was able to edit together just one short video that captured all of the important steps and processes he used to construct it. So, I mean, the table itself was pretty impressive, but getting a sense from him of what it took to turn that into a video, you know, of reasonable length was pretty impressive, almost as much as the table itself. So you should definitely keep watching all of the Relaxing Painting with Dice and Dungeons. Don't stop that. And you should tell all of your friends and relatives, enemies, acquaintances, strangers, anyone you meet, you know, people you bump into on mass transit or at the office that you didn't know before. Basically everybody. You should tell everybody about Relaxing Painting with Dice and Dungeons and encourage them to either watch the stream as it occurs, which, as I said, unfortunately has been a little bit, I can't say erratic, because I always tell people ahead of time whether I'm going to be streaming or not, but a little bit well, it's been missing days. Usually it's Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from more or less 10 until more or less 2, what is now Eastern Daylight Time, because we sprang forward. But because of travel, a lot of travel, and family events, and dog sitting, and stuff like that, things that come up. Because of things that come up, I have been missing some Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Like I was gone for almost 2 weeks and just back really late on Wednesday. I battled jet lag and decided that I would do this today. But I have an obligation on Monday, and so won't be back until Wednesday of next week. And I'll just remind everybody again that we usually have music playing. We use music from Alexander Nakarada, with full permission to do that, but there's been some sort of weird dispute going on about some of the tunes. and we got a little bit caught up in that. So we didn't want to do anything to jeopardize our streaming, and so are not playing music until that's resolved. So yeah, game shows for 65 was, why can't you just use words? Okay, because there's this huge proliferation of just like, can't really call them acronyms or contractions. I'm not sure. There's probably some sort of name for them, right? That I don't know. And the name probably isn't really a word either. So it's like YOLO, which sounds kind of like a Swiss cough drop or something, or maybe a, a candy, a YOLO. That's kind of what it sounds like. But no, I found out it means you only live once. Okay. Well, yeah, those are the first letters of the words. But, why can't you just use words? And one that's been really, it's, on all the time is BOGO. Back in the day, we used to use words and we would say, buy one, get one free. I don't know. Maybe we just had a whole lot more time back then that we could actually use words, right? And we could say, buy one, get one. And we even said free. So I don't know why it's not BOGOF. Where did the free go? Anyway, yeah. So the whole buy one, get one free thing turned into BOGO, which doesn't sound nearly as compelling. I mean, I would rather buy one and get one free than get BOGO'd. But no, why can't we just use words? And sometimes there's been this okay, there's a tendency to use like little bits of words. I know some of these have been around for a long time, but they're just examples of shipping someone. So and so is shipping. It's like, well, where where are they sending them? Because shipping to me has meant, um, the kind of thing you do when you're sending a box to someone. You ship it, right? Or, moving a piece of furniture or buying something online. That's a real modern thing to do. But no, when you're shipping someone, it means that you're getting into a relationship. And relationship isn't a verb. So that really I'm just I'm gonna complain about that. It's like you're using a part of a word in an inappropriate part of speech to describe something. But apparently nobody has time, there's no time anymore to actually say, Jane Smith is getting into a relationship with John Doe, where John Doe is getting into a relationship with Sam Doe. No. To say, Jane is shipping John, which just, first time I heard that kind of thing, it was like, what? And there's always been slang, right? but slang, involved making up new sounds and nonsensical sounds that weren't even words necessarily, or using words in an odd combination. But when you just use the letters of words, I don't know. Why can't you just use words? So that game show is going to be people over 65 being presented with these incomprehensible things. Of like individual letters or parts of words that are being used in a weird way. Not weird, but in a way that is different than their usual parts of speech. And they have to guess because they won't know. We won't, those of us over 65 won't know, but we'll have to guess what they mean. So that's one of the game shows, along with Didn't That Used to Be? Are they still alive? You were there with me. What was it? Meaning, the name of the movie or the person or an event or something. Or more of them. So these spots are coming out okay. What do you think? I think that the pearlescent is kind of a nice color. It doesn't exactly match, I mean, it's not an exact match of the real thing, but looking like a pretty decent octopus, I think. See if I missed any. Why is there a chunk of paint missing there? Okay, well, I'm not going to try to match the yellow again. I'm just going to do that. Make it look like one of the things. Painting the base of this. Oh, my. I'm almost tempted to just get, because you have to get the paint down underneath all these tentacles and into all these little crevices and stuff without getting it onto the yellow. I wonder how that's going to go. Guess we'll find out after break. But just looking up at the clock, the reason I chuckled was that the wall clock, I can't read the computer clock. I just can't focus on. I can't see the fine print. So I've got this analog wall clock up there. And I chuckled because it never fell back. When daylight saving time ended, it never fell back. And so now it's got the correct time. It didn't spring forward either because it never fell back. So there's that. Just getting the skin off the top where it was starting to set up. Yeah, this is pretty interesting. I've actually been staying on camera most of the time. That doesn't usually happen. Well, anyway, I guess I'm tired. I'm not tired of it. I'm done talking about game shows for those over 65. There's some others. I think that was terribly interesting. But if you want to think of more, you know, you can always post them on social media or something and make make fun of the elderly who quite as adept at keeping up with not using words and remembering what things used to be. Anyway, like I was saying at the very beginning, since I am well above 65, I can do that, right? It's okay to use humor about your own demographic. So this is probably a good time, since I'm done talking about the thing that I was using to fill some time, is talk about what Dyson Dungeons is. Dyson Dungeons is all about Dungeons and Dragons. And we do a Twitch stream with a live chat, usually 3 Sundays a month at 2 o'clock Eastern Time, standard or daylight saving, depending on which one is current. And then those episodes also appear on YouTube and as a podcast. And our D&D show is amazing. I have to say it really is. And you definitely want to catch it. Okay. You want to watch an episode and be entertained, and then say, I'd like to know the backstory of this. Who are these characters? Whatever happened? What do you think happened to Fervin? And then you can watch all of the back episodes. You can binge watch them, or if you go on YouTube, you can kind of skim through them if you don't want to watch the whole thing. And then you would learn those things, and you would be amazed at how much fun D&D show is. And then relaxing painting. And the storied history of television is a spin-off. It's like Joni Loves Chachi, right? Or Mork and Mindy or something like that, or Petticoat Junction. It's spun off of a previous sort of show. Well, this is sort of a spin-off of our Dungeons and Dragons show, because we use really cool props, minifigs, and dungeon tiles on our show. And we painted them for the show, and our DM and producer, Alexis, said, well, why don't we stream the painting? And I said, why? And she said, because. And I said, well, who am I to argue? I'm painting anyway. So if someone wants to put a camera on, I suppose that's okay. It's very much a PG. It's not even PG-13 rated. This is a a PG rated stream. It's what makes it pretty relaxing. Anyway, yeah, so that's how this got started because we, as you can see in that little scroll underneath me on the screen there, those are just some examples of some of the minifigs and dungeon tiles and actually entire dungeons that have been produced and painted on this stream. And maybe I'll even show some examples of the dungeon tiles, which are pretty amazing. I've done that before, but I haven't done it in a while, so maybe I'll do that. But not until I finish putting the blue inner circles on the octopus here. There aren't too many left. There are fewer left than when I started. And some of the aphorisms of life. There's the, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step thing, but there's something like this. The more appropriate version is you can't finish unless you get started. I actually got started on this octopus, and eventually it'll get finished, but it could not have been finished if I hadn't started it. I mean, that's just true. It's just the way it is. So there's that. And then along the process of it, there's the, how's it going? Well, I'm closer to the finish than when I started. And one would hope that that was true. Sometimes it's not exactly. There are times when there could just be a huge setback, like there was a disaster in terms of the painting, right? And paint got spilled all over a partially finished work, or something got dropped and broken. And there are times when you would have to say that I'm not closer to the finish than when I started. As far as this octopus goes, down to the very last one, I'll have to check to make sure I didn't miss any. And I'm just going to shut up now because I don't want to have a problem until this is finished. Sometimes you get to the very, very end of something, and that's when it goes horribly wrong. And I didn't want it to go horribly wrong. Okay, now I'm just going to rotate this to make sure I didn't miss putting light blue on any of the dark blue rings. I wish I was a better painter. But, it doesn't look that bad, especially at a distance on like on the camera. You can see that it doesn't look great because the base has got the base yellow coat on it. Mm-hmm. You can also see that the base yellow coat was really bright yellow, and then I did a dry brush of one of the beige paints I've got. Which one did I use? Dark sand or something? Yeah. So you could see the difference, and it really made a big difference. But looks like I got all the spots painted the lighter blue. Nice. I like the light blue. It's nice and iridescent. It really pops. The dark blue is okay, but the lighter blue pearlescent really works well. Clean this off. And, jeez. Yeah, that's another part of aging is making weird little belchy noises and stuff. Um, yeah, I need to do the pupil on the eye. I'm going to not use paint or a brush. I'm going to use this little micron pen. I've used this before. I'm also going to put on my head magnifiers so that this is always not a good idea because then things that look pretty good look really bad when they're magnified times two. But I need to see where the pupil is. Horizontal black line. Get too big, but I also want it to be visible. Yeah, that's pretty decent. Let me see if I can do the same on this side. I know, although it's not that critical, octopi have this weird ability to move their eyes independently of each other. It's pretty cool, isn't it? But if this side isn't aimed exactly, you know, metric with the other one, it's because an octopus can do that. Hmm. It doesn't look too bad under 2x magnification. The lines aren't exactly smooth; they're kind of jagged. Okay. Well, there you go. Those are octopus eyes. They came out okay. So I need to decide next before I start working on getting the base painted, which is going to, in some ways, be even more challenging than the rest of this because it involves getting paint just around these tentacles without getting it on them. I'm going to have to just be incredibly careful and patient, and especially careful getting the paint up to and away from the surface. And then trying different angles and things. I'm probably going to use paint to be just on the tip of a fine point brush. Oh, I might use this one. It's really fine pointed. But the key is to have paint just on the tip of it. I'm just looking at this and seeing that, like getting in there, right? How important it's going to be to not have paint other than on the very, very tip of the brush. So I'm going to end up like putting a dot of paint down, cleaning the brush, and then pushing it up into these nooks and crannies because I don't want paint up on the bristles at all. I might end up having to use my head magnifier for of all things, the base of this. It's practicing getting in here. Yeah, and that would happen, right? But just if I had had paint on the brush, it slipped in my hand. It did, and I would have had just this big streak of paint, and it would have been impossible to fix. in some ways, waiting to paint the base until the end was a bad decision. Okay, I just have to say that maybe, just maybe, that was a mistake. Testing, checking to see. Yeah, it's just going to be so critical to keep the brush clean. You know, and it's not even that shorter bristles would help because the paint would climb up on it. And there are some things like in here. Mm-hmm. The bristle brush. Sorry, I wasn't actually applying paint. I'm just trying to see how much trouble I'm going to get into when I actually do start applying paint. I end up using this one too. I have to decide what color to paint the base. Who just joined in? Yeah, actually, I wish my hands weren't that shaky. I sometimes am surprised that they're not shakier. Um, I don't know. I can't explain, why they're not. Sometimes the last time I was painting, when I started this stream today, it was kind of shaky. And what I find is that it's really important for me to like rest my hand on something and just do that. But yeah, the painting of fine detail is anyway a challenge. So this is supposed to look like a seafloor, and if I look at this picture, the seafloor is gray and green and blue, and it's going to be next to impossible to get the paint on this at all anyway. So I'm thinking, I can't do that. I just I it's going to be tricky just getting the paint on there once, but coming back and maybe around the edges, where there aren't tentacles, like around here, maybe I could put some little blotches of yellow or green or something on it, but I'm not going to try to do it like under here. Maybe just for show. So what I'm going to try to do, I'm going to use a gray color. I'm just going to paint the base gray, like pretty much the same color as the primer, I think. And then just do my best, I guess, to get the paint where I want it and not where I don't. So like in this bit here, I might take like a dollop of paint and okay, not shakily. Okay, it's not shaking, but it just depends on that. Just get it in there. So there's a little paint on the bottom. Wipe off the brush, and then just use the tip of it to push the paint around. It looks like that is pretty much how this is going to go. I'm going to keep these out in case there's a disaster and I have to try to redo some of it. But for the most part, I'm just going to use like a neutral gray color. I think I've got some of this here, and hopefully it's good paint. Two jars of neutral gray. Tell which one has been opened. I think this one. So let me shake it up. Let me give it a good shake and see. So I'm just going to let everybody know that I'm actually going to need to take a break sooner than later, because second cup of coffee, right? And if I'm going to be doing this really delicate painting of the base, I need to be a little bit more relaxed for relaxing painting. So what I'm going to do is check on the consistency of the paint here. That is to say, to make sure that it's pretty liquid, so it'll spread nicely, but also cover. I think it's one of the browns that got screwed up. What I mean by that is that I thinned it out, and it isn't the same color as it's supposed to be anymore. But when you get down near the bottom of a jar, sometimes paint changes consistency. This jar, what the heck? This jar is just like totally empty. There's no paint in here. The ball bearing is in there. That mixes it. So I'm not going to use this because it's not there. So there. What I am going to do, though, is put that somewhere else so that this one's almost half empty. I don't understand why there was an empty jar of paint in the paint holder. What I'm doing here is I'm getting the ball bearing out because I don't want to just throw it away, and dropping it in there. I'm going to help stir it up. And then this is going to go away to a different place. Okay, this paint will be okay. I'm going to just have to be extremely careful as I do the base of this. It'll probably take the rest of the stream to do that. But, wow, this whole thing, these tweezers got covered in different colors of paint. So before I go on break, I'm going to not paint, because I know that if I started to paint the base now, I would slip up and make a mess. So I'm going to just quickly give a recap of where things are. I was gone for a while on a family trip, and it was wonderful. I got back very late Wednesday, so that's why I am trying to do relaxing painting with jet lag here today. I have to say, so far, it has not been terrible. I'm kind of surprised at that. In fact, it's been going kind of, fairly well. So we'll see what happens when I start painting the base. So I'm going to finish the octopus after break by painting the base. Yeah, I'm going to have to, I can't use the holder to get in between the tentacles. So what I'm going to be doing is just twisting this all over the place and holding it with my hands. But I'm not going to be painting the edges and stuff, just around the tentacles. And then I'll put it on the sticky tack holder and finish painting the larger areas and the edges. I'm talking to myself this is planning out loud. So I think that's how I'm going to try to pull this off. And then what I might try to do is a little bit of texturing with some green, to make it look like seagrass or slime or something. Maybe I might even use the pearlescent green. I'm not sure. I'll have to look. Just to give it a little bit of texture so it's not just flat gray. What pearlescent greens look like. Yeah, like this dark green or this gold green. Those might look okay. In fact, what I'm going to do, I've done this before, I'm going to do it here as well. I'm going to take this and I put a little splotch of gray paint on there. Okay. And then I'm going to, after break, I don't want to use that brush. I use it for other things. Just use this. After break, I'm going to, after this dries, test some of those colors on it to see how it looks. This is relaxing. I can do this before break. So I'm just going to give a, this is the color I'm going to be using. This neutral gray, this light gray color on the base. And then when this dries, I'll take out the pearlescent and maybe some other things. Like I've got a green wash. I'll try some little dabs on there to see how it looks. So I got the green wash. I'll use that. I've got a nice dark green. I can use that. And this lighter green. And I'm not going to mess around with too many different colors. I might go, I don't know. We'll see. A lot of this will just depend on how the painting around the tentacles goes to begin with. So yes, anyway, I'd been gone for a while. That's why there wasn't any relaxing painting with Dice and Dungeons for some time. But I'm back today. I will be not streaming Monday, but I will be streaming next Wednesday and hopefully Friday as well. Sorry, the brush didn't get clean in the water, so I have to give it an alcohol bath here. So I'll be working on the octopus here after break, and then on Wednesday I'll be going back to the Apollo, and maybe we'll see how things go with the submarine, about whether I get anything done off camera or whether I'll just keep torturing people with the lack of completion of the submarine until finally it's done. What I've got to do is there's some sanding that needs to be done on the base so that I can respray it. It'd be nice if I finished that today, if I just did a little bit of sanding today, if there's time at the end of the stream. If not, maybe I'll try to do it over the weekend so that I can have an unveiling of the fold down half of the hull, the part of the hull that does not have any detail in it, the cutaway submarine that does not have any detail in it, so that I can take the masking tape off and say, oh, this is now done. The part of the submarine that doesn't matter, the part of the submarine that doesn't matter at all, because it basically is not the detailed cutaway part. And then I need to very carefully mask the interior of the cutaway part of the submarine so that I can spray paint the outside of the hull, because it's just really crappy looking gray plastic that has little scuff marks on it and things like that. So after that is very carefully masked, then I can spray paint that. And after that is spray painted, hopefully without messing up the inside, I can unmask all of that and do the final tiny little bits of assembly, like putting in the dive plane and the propeller and reinstalling the periscopes and stuff. Where am I here? Yeah, so this is going to dry. Is it dry? Oh, that dried really quick. So tell you what, I'm going to do this before break. Why not? Why not do this before break? Because I can. I'm going to test different applications of greenness to see if it looks like seafloor or whether it just looks gross. Okay, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how this will turn out. So this is a green wash. And this would be applied by just sort of dappling it, right? Because the seafloor doesn't have brush strokes on it. It has like dapples. So there's little dapples. They look gray on my monitor, and they're supposed to look green. It is kind of green. It's kind of like slime. We use this, actually, the green wash on gray, we use in our sewer tiles because it looks like slimy moss growing on the stone. So these are pearlescents. Okay, so they're not going to be flat. They're going to be a little bit shiny, which might look really great or it just might look really stupid. I don't know. We'll find out. I'm just poking into it because the paint just gelatinizes. Yeah, see, the problem with this, it was fine on the Octopus, especially the light blue, which I wanted to look kind of shiny, is that I'm going to abandon the pearlescence. I mean, it's kind of cool and all. It's not a bad color. It actually looks kind of nice, but the seafloor isn't shiny. Okay, I mean, it's just not. But since I started this, I'm going to try I'll try this. Why not? It is kind of a neat effect. I actually kind of like that, but it might not be appropriate. Have a shiny seafloor. I don't know. It's poking through the solidified paint there. This is a really nice color. I think what I'll do is I'm going to take these upstairs and during break, check with my artistic consultant, check with Nicole. Nicole plays Zoya Ansula, Changeling Druid, on our Dungeons and Dragons show. And she's also a trained artist and knows art stuff, like how things should look and whatever. Oh, okay. Now I've got an idea here. I don't know how well this is going to work, but let me try it. I don't know why I would even think about doing this seriously, because the base is going to be hard enough to do anyway. Okay. And I'm thinking about like a 3-layer thing. And that, I just have to say, is probably a really not bright idea. But I want to try it, see what happens. So what I did was I put the green wash down, and then I like this color. Let me put some on there just to see what would happen. Anyway, I'm going to be taking forever, tiny little drops of paint at a time, trying to be incredibly cautious, and I hope that I am successful in that, trying to get gray paint around these tentacles on the base of this, okay, so that it's not just all sloppy yellow. And I'm going to use this neutral gray as the base coat. And what I'm doing here is I'm just testing different things to maybe make it look seafloory. Okay. Or at least not just plain old gray. And I'm going to ask to see if any of these seem to work at all. But I'm going to take a break now before I attempt the very incredibly difficult task of getting this gray paint on the base. And I will then be back. I would say, I usually say like 25 to 30 minutes, and it's almost always 35 to 40. But since I always say 25 to 30 minutes, I'm going to say that again. I will attempt to be back in 25 or 30 minutes. We'll see how successful I am. And then I'll take on that. So thanks for sticking with me so far. See you in a little while. and finish up the octopus. Well, eventually it had to end. As usual, I said I would be back in half an hour, and it was 40 minutes, but why break with tradition or habit or whatever it is? So the thing to do now is paint the base. When I put the base coat, two different bases. The base coat got all over the base, and now I need to paint the base to cover the base coat with base paint. Yeah. I'll take these off, get my head magnifiers because I'm going to really need them to guide my brush. Get the paint stirred up. And usually when I do this sort of thing, I start with the easy stuff and end up with the hard stuff. Is I'm going to try to paint the most difficult places first. Just because, yeah, they're going to be hard to paint. The thing with this print is that it's a gorgeous 3D resin printed model, and it's got these tentacles, and then underneath it, there's the open space that is underneath the tentacles, and that's why painting the base is going to be such a challenge, because it's just, I don't know. I'm just mutter to myself. I'm probably gonna mess. Yeah, that was a good jet lag moment. And putting the head magnifiers on upside down. So yeah, I'm going to do my best to keep the paint on the very, very tip of the brush. Doesn't go places where I don't want it. Be as careful as I can, getting the brush to and from the surface to be painted. Because that's often like they're pulling the brush out. Brush in is often the time when the paint gets onto places I don't want it. I'm thinking, to be safe, that with some frequency, I'm going to be wiping off the brush to try to get paints not creeping up on it. Yes. Not going to be seen. is sometimes I'm going to compromise, and just not paint there. Like under here, it's already gray from the primer, which is pretty much the same color as the color here. So the better part of valor, or in this case, just being chicken, is to not try to, is just not try it. Just not do it. I mean, if it doesn't have to be painted, I'm not going to take the chance. Especially that part, because it's in the shadows anyway. Get too close to the edge because I have to hold it there. And if I get too close to the edge, I'm going to get paint on my fingers. And then there is no knowing at that point. Just no way to tell where it's going to go. The one thing that's certain is that it won't be good. Okay, now this is how do I get there from here situation. Get double vision here. Camera, yeah, I got that. I didn't expect that. That is to say, I didn't expect to be on camera. I expected to be wandering off somewhere. Sometimes it's just a matter of rotation. Rotate the thing until you can get there from here. No, I mean, if you can't get there from here, what I mean to say is start a different here, right? Can't get there from here. You might be able to get there from here. The key part was getting the brush out, getting paint on something else. Okay, guess just keep going around. These glasses are not good for depth of field. So I'm looking at this and I'm focusing very nicely on the tentacle in front and very poorly on the spot where I'm trying to get the paint, which is way behind it. This is looking terribly much better than it did before, but yeah, I'm actually making some progress. The problem is I'm not painting the outside, so the parts that are very highly visible, the edges are not getting painted with the gray. Okay, this is tricky under here. Get the paint. If I get the paint only on the tip of the brush, I have some chance of doing this. If it climbs up the bristles at all, it's going to definitely get where I don't want it. Oh, I managed to mash the tip of the brush there by pushing the paint. Unfortunately, the paint in the bottle cap is starting to get gummy. To dip into the bottle, which makes it a little bit harder. Just want to touch the surface of the paint. I think that will do. Some of this is trying to decide whether that area could possibly ever be seen, like the edge of the tentacle there. I mean, no one's ever going to see that. So I'm not too worried about it. Or that spot under here. This spot here could be seen. think I can get that from underneath in this direction. Yeah, I'm glad I picked a color the same, almost the same as the primer, because there are just certain areas that are very hard to reach, and I can just leave as long as there's not yellow all over it. I can just leave the primer there, like in here. Oh, that looked really good from one direction and really bad from the other. Brush just bumped something. I hope it wasn't this. There's a bump there that I need to make disappear. There we go. After I'm done this little bit here, I'm going to put it on the sticky tack stand so I can get the edges. But right now I'm still dealing with having to rotate it in too many different directions to be able to do that. I mentioned earlier I can't paint the edges while I'm holding it on the edges. Well, I could. I mean, I could paint the edges while I'm holding it on the edges, but what would happen then? I'd get paint all over my fingers, and then I'd get it on places where I definitely don't want it, and that would be bad. It's to be bad. Okay. Yeah, but I'm not going to take any more chances on that. Sometimes just a little bit of that's good enough is an essential step in not making a big mistake. Oh, that it doesn't jump off. I don't want it to fall off while I'm getting these edges done. It will look much more finished once I get these edges done, because it looks pretty much unfinished right now, especially up front there. The top appearances greatly. And then paint the edges. Sorry, I wasn't looking up at the chat screen. I was focusing way too much on trying not to mess this up. But what I will do is stop for a second, put my other glasses on so I can see what's going on, because somebody joined chat. Oh, Ole, you came back. Huh. Yeah, it's hi everybody. Thanks for joining in. Yes, I'm painting the my version, which is not nearly as realistic as the real thing, a blue striped octopus. This is actual picture of well, not an actual picture. It's a printout of an image of an actual blue striped octopus. So you can see that, you know, it's sort of close. It's really not too bad. It's come out pretty well. This is a really, really good rosin print. Unfortunately, it's so good that it's difficult to paint, but especially the base, because the tentacles are suspended up above the base. Anyway, I'm doing my best here to try to get gray paint covering the yellow paint that got all over the base when I painted the base coat of the octopus. The base coat was bright yellow. You can see it there. I don't know if you can see the color contrast, but then I put a dark sand wash over it, and it toned it down and gave it a nice kind of not flat look, you know, a little bit of variation. So that was good. Now I'm painting the base gray, and after it dries, not close to the octopus, but around the edges of it, I'm going to do a little bit of washing and texturing, because this is supposed to be the seafloor, okay? And the seafloor isn't just plain old flat gray. So I'm going to try to do that without causing a problem or making a mess. It's been steadier in the past. I just noticed when I was painting before I went on our latest trip, I think it's because I've been tensing up my shoulders. Actually, I'll just have to say that. Kind of when I'm doing this, I tense up my shoulders, and then that causes a vibration down in my hand. If I relax, then it seems to let up. Well, you're getting variation here in the shininess from the the wet paint, but it looks much better than it did when there was yellow paint spotted all over the place. I have to say that. Thanks all for joining in. I am finishing up this blue striped octopus during this stream, and then I will not be here on Monday. I like to try to keep people informed, so I don't want people thinking that I'm giving up on relaxing painting with dice and dungeons, or that it's going off, that's not going to be streamed anymore. But there's been a good deal of family related and other travel going on. And so I have been away since like the first of the year, kind of off and on. And just finished one up. Just came back Wednesday from a trip to Europe to visit some family. I'm a little bit jet lagged and a little bit needing to catch up with what I'm doing here. It seems to be going okay. Also, I'll just mention it again. The music isn't playing. We usually have Alex Nakarada music playing in the background, and we have, full permission to do that and all. But there's been some sort of issue with his music, and anyway, we've got these things called a content ID that sprang up, not just us, but other people who have been using Nakarada's music recently. And sometimes that causes the stream to be muted or even not shown. And not wanting to take any chances because we're trying to get viewership up as much as we can. This isn't just, just can't. Anyway, yeah, not taking any chances. We're not playing the music, at least until that's all resolved. Oh my, is that a spot there? I'm just rotating this because that always shows, rotation always shows where spots get missed, to make sure that there aren't any real obvious places where the yellow base coat on the base, needed to be base coated with gray. So it doesn't show as yellow anymore. Anyway, that's why the music's not playing. And we hope to have that back sooner than later. Probably not next week. I haven't checked on the status of that, really, so I'm not really sure what it is. But until I'm told, put the music back on, I'm not putting it on. You'll just have to either listen to silence or to me droning on about something kind of pointless and, hopefully entertaining. Okay. That actually turned out okay. I'm kind of surprised. There was only one spot where I got the gray paint up on the tentacle, and it's way underneath where you can't see it. I could see it, but you can't see it. So that's not a problem then, is it? Okay. So this is supposed to be the seafloor. All right. So to make it look seafloory, I wait for it to dry. And before break, I practiced with some things to make it look seafloory. And that's a nice color, but it doesn't work too well. And this is nice, but it didn't work too well. What seemed to work well is the green wash, okay, which makes it look kind of like mossy, maybe like seafloor slime. And then a little bit, just tiny little touches of this pearlescent gold green, like that. Just probably less than on here, but just little spots of it to bring it kind of alive. Otherwise, the plain gray is kind of a nice. It shows off the yellow of the body of the octopus pretty well, I think, and the circles, the dark with the light, and then the yellow, I think worked all right, and then the orange eyes, yeah, even without my glasses on, the pupils show it's yeah, they look like octopus eyes. Okay, let's try it here, and I want to be pretty careful with the green wash because I don't want to get it onto the octopus. Use one of these. I want it to dapple, so I don't want a little point, and I want to be able to control it. So I'm going to try this brush and just be really cautious with it. Okay. What I'll be doing is just dappling some green wash around the edges. Okay, I'm tempted to put a little spot there, but I'm not sure if I'll give in to the temptation or not. I'm just practicing what I'm going to be doing. I might, try to go, if I can keep the wash right on the tip of the brush. So let me give this a stir. And then after that dries, and it dries pretty quickly, I think. At least it has been, because this bottle of wash is really old. It's like an original purchase when I first started painting dungeon tiles for Dyson Dungeons. And so there isn't much solvent left. So I have to actually be a little bit careful with it because there's just a lot of pigment and not much solvent. So it can color things pretty quickly. Some of these washes also, when I squeeze them out, they splash everywhere. That's actually going to be enough. A little dot. I don't want too much on the brush. And let me start back here. I don't want it to look uniform. To dapple it on. Get it all over my high-tech cardboard cover. Yeah, so it turns it kind of mossy green, which is good because the seafloor has mossy green stuff on it. We get some in here just to give it that greenish color. Yeah, I just wanted it, kind of spotty like that. And then I'm going to take that pearlescent paint and just put little spots of highlights on it, I think. Like this, just little shiny spots. Just why not? Why not have little shiny spots? I think I'll just use the same brush. Brought into action by actually doing something here. I'm going to take it out of the bottle. I'm just going to use the stuff that made its way to the top. It looks very green in the bottle. But when it's dappled on, it looks kind of yellowish, which is okay. You know, like it's really green on the white napkin too, but paper towel. It's not a napkin, it's a paper towel. It's not quite, it's almost, but not quite like dry brushing. It's more like dry speckling. Yeah, like that. Yeah, it's kind of neat. Declare that a success. A successful speckling effort. Just kind of a little shimmeriness to it. Okay. Well, sometimes things work out so that they're okay. You know, I mean, maybe not great, but at least okay. And that's one of them. Okay. As I said, it's okay. I should have brought down some water, but I didn't. Well, I've got almost an hour left here, and the octopus is essentially done. What I can do is I can do a little bit of cleaning up, and then I can talk about dungeon tiles. Let me put some of these things away, because if there's still some time, I want to be working a little bit on the submarine base. I mean, why not? If I've got the time, I can do that, right? Let me get these brushes set aside. Get me putting things away and not knocking that down. A great stand here. Different colors of stuff. Where should that one go? That one had a place. Fill the place with some other color. I don't know. What I'm doing is, I should show you this thing. It's a really cool thing. Oh, the yellow should have gone there, and this one, this one will go there, whether it should be or not. Yeah. Okay. So there's the cleaning up stuff, and here's my palette in this, and let me put the octopus back in view. And what I'm going to do, I haven't done this in a while, is I'm going to show everybody our dungeon tiles. And that will involve reaching over stuff and maybe knocking things down. We'll see. So Relaxing painting with Dice and Dungeons started with painting dungeon tiles for our Dungeons and Dragons show. And our Dungeons and Dragons show is on Twitch 3 Sundays a month at 2:00, whatever Eastern time it is. Saving time now. It used to be standard time, but now it's saving time. And then those same episodes will show up on YouTube and as a podcast, and it's very entertaining, and you should definitely watch it. And you should tell everybody that you know or run into, not run into like, boom, run into, don't run into people. But, meet people you meet, you should tell them to do that too. But this all started because we wanted dungeon tiles to show up on our D&D campaign show, and this is what they are. So I'm going to show them to you because they are really cool. These are rough stone. They are base coated. They're primed, base coated in gray, and then, highlight blocks. And generally we wash these with like a dark gray wash to make it look like it's worn, but these haven't been washed, but they show things nonetheless. Anyway, these are printed on the PLA printers back there. We print them ourselves, wall and floor, all one solid piece. Very strong. I can drop them and not break them, which is saying something. But the really unique part about this is that under this plate, there's just this, keep it on camera, a little plate here. In each corner are 2 ball magnets, which are balls and are magnets. But they're in little wells, and so they rotate, and then they rotate so that they stick to each other. Okay? So these are not magnetic in that you have to stick them to a metal plate. They're magnetic in that they stick to each other, and they very easily come apart and go back together so that one can rearrange the dungeon very quickly and easily. And they're all to the same scale, so they fit together real nicely, and the walls all line up. And so we have these really cool dungeon tiles that we use on our D&D show. These are cut stone. I want to show you the wood ones because they are really neat. These came out really well. So relaxing painting started by painting these. These are basically the same thing, right? Except that they're printed as wood grain and painted like wood. This is kind of a multi-step process. It's all primed, okay, and then painted brown. But the brown doesn't look like this. The brown is really flat and light colored, but then they're washed, and the wash makes it look like rich wood and it brings out the wood grain. So we paint all of these hand painted and then wash them, and then the stucco walls are hand painted in front and back. And our dungeon tiles have operating doors. They're pin hinged so that they work like that, which is really cool. And then, so if you want, you could, you can be inside, right? And hide behind the door. You could be there hiding. Here, I'll give the feet. This black-faced sheep is going to be you. You can hide behind the door. So if someone comes in, you can, surprise them. Or you can just open the door and walk through. The other thing about these dungeon tiles is they're finished front and back so that, if this were a building with a door going to the outside, and we have a whole pile of street tiles, and there's a street out here, you could not only show your players inside the building, but you could show your players outside the building as well, and everything's finished. And these two have the same ball magnet, sort of thing. I like to show these off about every, at least once a week on the stream because they're really cool and they look amazing both in real life and on the screen. And that's how Relaxing Painting with Dice and Dungeons started, because these had to be painted. And then it all got streamed, and that's what you're watching. And then when the dungeon tiles ran out, started doing other, minifigs and things, started doing other things like the submarine that I will be finishing up sometime yet this year. I would have been finished by now, except for the breaks that we've taken for all the family travel and whatever. I'll blame that because I'm only working on it on the stream. I could be working on it, off stream too, but I'm not. But it's almost done, and you'll be seeing that next week, Wednesday. In fact, well, you might see a little bit of it today because there's enough time left that I can work on part of it that should have been really, really easy, but has been frustrating. At any rate, in the future, in the absence of minifigs or dungeon tiles, I'm going to be continuing to spend most of my time working on models. I'm finishing up the submarine, and I am starting a Apollo stack, which has all of the components of the Apollo lunar excursion module, service module, and command module, and so on. And that's turning into be a challenge because the parts don't fit together terribly well. And we're going to, anyway, you'll see that on Wednesday when I get to it. What I really would like, since this came out so cute, okay, is I would like to have like 24 sheep, because this was so easy to do. It was, just base painted ivory, doing a little dry brushing on it, painting the face and the feet black, and then the base, which was easy to paint. Anyway, that was pretty straightforward. But no, I'll be working on these other models. So I think this is the last minifig that I've got. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe look around. I don't think there's anything else. No. Okay, yeah. So next week, I'm not doing this on Monday, but I'll be back on Wednesday working on the Apollo. But I've got a little bit of time now. I'm going to move these things aside so I don't spill too much or make a mess. And I'm going to bring out the part of the submarine that I've been working on that should have been finished, but isn't. So what I've got here, neatly masked, everything's masked because this is the hull. There we go. This is the fold-down hull of the submarine model. And what happens is that the other part of the model, which I'm not going to show you right now, goes here, okay? And inside of that is the entire cutaway of the submarine. And then this is supposed to not break. It's very delicate. It's not robustly built. It's supposed to fold up and cover it, okay? And the base came in two parts, and I tried to get rid of the seam so it wouldn't show, but it did. So after I spray painted it, and it turned out that this didn't get spray painted very well anyway and needs to be repainted, so it's not a complete loss. I'll have to repaint this base, but the seams showed very badly on the bottom here. So I put some filler in, okay, as you can see there. And instead of watching paint dry, which is really exciting, you're going to see something equally exciting. You're going to see sanding. Yeah, so I'm going to sand it with this 800 grit sandpaper, and then polish it with this 2000 grit sandpaper. Okay, pretty exciting. And hopefully, whether it is or not, I don't know. At this point, I'm just doing the best I can. After I sand these down, and hopefully this seam isn't going to show very much, and the polishing of it will not cover up any scratches. Okay. And then I will spray paint it this nice brown color again. And on Wednesday of next week, I'm going to spray paint this over the weekend. On Wednesday of next week, I'll take all this masking off and you'll see what this looks like. And then I'll also show you the rest of the submarine, which is really the point of the submarine, the model itself. Okay. Yeah. So what I essentially have here is filler that should be sanded off so that it's supposed to be smooth. Moving out. I should be able to run my finger across it and not feel it, but I still can't. So more sanding. Maybe I should use 600 grit. I don't know. I don't want to have scratch marks all over it, though. So yeah, one of our regular viewers, Ole Brager, you should check out. Ole Brager, if you look up in chat, you can see their name. Is really good at building models and terrain and minifigures and things, and recently built Dungeons and Dragons player table with space for there we go. We're finally getting it off everywhere except the scene. Recently built a table for 5 players and a DM, and it said spent like 20 hours sanding, but didn't want to subject the viewers to 20 hours of sanding, and so edited it down. Amazing job of editing. Probably spends so much, way more time on editing than this show, which has no editing. Edited it down. But I'm mentioning that because Ole decided to spare the viewers all of the watching him sand, but you get to watch me sand because that's what's happening here. Okay, I've pretty much got this down to where it actually feels pretty nice. I wonder if I did an okay job. Hopefully it's okay. Okay enough anyway. And then I want to polish it with the really, really fine 2000 grit sandpaper. Especially, I want to feather the parts where the paint came off. Where it's nicely feathered into the paint, so I don't end up with like a seam. Right? I don't want to have a seam where I go from raw plastic to the painted surface, and then that would just defeat the whole point of what I'm trying to do here, which is to get rid of the seam between the 2 parts that are cemented together. Anyway, I'm going to respray this, and hopefully it'll look okay. If it does, fine. If it doesn't, well, then it'll be just okay. And I've got this on the other side. You can see where I put some filler in. That feels pretty good. I think that's okay. over here, there's kind of a rough surface. There's actually tape on there because this part on here where the tape is, that is very, that'll be fun pulling that off, is where the other part of the hull gets cemented on when it comes to that eventually. Eventually it will come to that. This is an awkward orientation. I guess I'll have to do it this way. You can't see what I'm doing. Oh, lovely. Yeah, I guess I'll try to do it this way. There's this filler here, and I need to sand down so that the filler is only in the little gap, which is really, really tiny and not all over the surface. So, yeah, for the sake of viewership, I am going to do it left-handed. That's kind of a dangerous thing for me to do because I am not left-handed. Okay, well, that's just really awkward. So I'm going to do this so you can't see it. I'm sorry. I need to be able to do this right-handed. So this putty this is Viejo plastic putty. This actually is set up pretty well. You have to let it sit for a long time before it really sets. It tends not to get really hard. Okay, and you want it to be as hard as the plastic underlying it, but it tends not to do that. So, although it's pretty hard now, it's resistant, very resistant to sanding. Okay, I'm just going to have to turn this like this. Just have to do that. Sorry about that. I'll just have to not see what I'm doing because if I show you what I'm doing, I can't do it. And then this is the point. So what I'm trying to get here is I just sanded down the seam. And it's just really uneven. I'm going to use a 600 grit. It's like a bump there. It's like the two sides don't match up. And I guess, in fact, that's what happened, is the two sides didn't match up. I want to sand from the low side up onto the high side and bring the high side down to the height of the low side and try to feather the ridge, the bump, as much as I can. Yeah, I mean, that's just the way it is. And so once this is painted, I'm sorry you can't see what I'm doing. Let me show it to you. So the two sides come together. There's a visually invisible seam there. This side here is lower than that side. So when I put my finger over it, it sort of rises up. And I want there to not be an obvious like change in height there. I'm going to give this a little more sanding. And then I'm sanding away the previously painted surface And then I'm going to use the fine grit sandpaper like I did on the other side to polish it and feather it. And then I hope the result is that when I spray paint it again, that it'll look a little bit smoother. It's getting better, but it's not. It's going to take a huge amount of work. I mean, I probably could. I'd have to go all the way around, quite a ways back, make it go away completely. So there's just going to be a discontinuity, and it's just the way it is. And I will just have to live with an imperfection in the base of this that no one will really care about once it's done. So I'll spend a good deal of time with this really fine grit, 2000 grit, and polish it, and especially feather in the previously painted areas with the newly unpainted areas. But I think what I'll do after I'm done with this, and I've given up trying to make it look any better, is just describe again what this is, and then I'll show you the rest of the submarine. Why not? All right. So keep in mind that this cradle here is going to hold a hull of the submarine that's this size. It's almost 2 feet long. Okay. And this base is going to get there's just this lump there. I mean, that could be sanded out, but it's going to take forever. It's just going to have to be what it is. Yeah. So this will get resprayed. Okay, it'll be overcoated, and this part under here that didn't get adequately painted the first time will be adequately painted this time. And then I'll take all of this masking off. I'll unmask it, so to speak, next week, Wednesday. That'll be a big unveiling. Yay. And this is gray. This has already been, this part of the hull has already been spray painted the dark gray color, which will be the hull color, which is why I covered it up with paper and masking tape so that it didn't turn a different color. And hopefully when I take the masking tape off, it will leave the paint on. We'll see how that goes. But I'm going to show you the rest of the submarine because it's pretty cool. This is a preview. This is a preview of next week. This is a Wren wall. This is built from 3 kits. I got 3 kits to give me enough adequately, not messed up parts. I got 3 kits to make a submarine, and it's actually really highly detailed inside. Okay, you got your bunks and your torpedoes. You can see the galley back there. There's cabinets and pots and pans hanging there and a faucet on the sink. And there's actually some pieces of simulated meat over there on the middle there hanging in the locker. All sorts of dials and stuff on the control panels. That's the gyros. And there's all these missile tubes. That's where the where the world destroying nuclear missiles go. The reactor, they did a cutaway of the reactor, and then all this machinery in the back here. And as you can see, the hull is just this kind of crappy gray plastic. So what I'm going to be doing, and I decided I'm going to do this right on the stream. This is going to be a real, I don't know. I need to mask off all of the inside. Okay. Like mask along the edges here. The top and the bottom. The bottom is fairly easy. Okay. Put some masking tape on there and then cover it all with some paper. So that I can spray paint the hull, this whole hull here, dark gray, this color. Okay, so it doesn't just look like crappy plastic. So I'll be masking this off really carefully all over the place, making sure I put little bits of masking tape on the inside of like the window there. So when I spray it from this side, see there's an opening there and there, putting little bits of masking tape on the inside of that so that when I spray paint that, it doesn't go down into it, right? Yeah, and the masking tape will extend up above the edges and then around the here. Anyway, it's going to be a to-do. The bits here, like on the bow and the stern, okay, I filled it in, but there's still little ridges. I can't get rid of them completely because the parts don't fit perfectly. I might give that a little more sanding, and then there's some issues with this piece here where it goes up. Anyway, yeah. So what I might do here, since I've got some time, is I might take my 2000 stuff here, and I might just spend a little bit of time like polishing this, right? This is the back of it, the part that I showed you that folds. This right here, this part is attached to that saddle. This part here is attached to that saddle, and that holds, and then the other, so big you can't see it, folds up, and it doesn't really close very well, but it gives the impression. It just gives the impression at least of closing up. But this plastic doesn't look good, and so I decided that it needed to be spray painted this color. But in order to do that, of course, I need to mask off everything in there so that doesn't get painted at the same time. Ta-da. You won't really be seeing this side of the submarine very much, but if you were to look, because you want to be seeing this side of the submarine. But if you were to look over, to the other side, you'd like it to look not crappy. These work. These little things move. It's kind of cool. Yeah. So I don't know. You might mess around with this a little bit more, but probably not much. Like I said, you won't be able to see this side, but you don't want it to look really gross when you do. So I'm going to spray paint it, which means masking off all of the detail on the inside of the submarine. This is the kit. The kit that from which this is built were actual vintage kits. They were made in the 60s. They're not repros or reissues or anything. And so, yeah, I bought 3 of them in order to get enough parts to build one complete submarine. This deck is really driving me crazy. It really needs to be cemented down like that because it's kind of bulging out. You can see it. But I tried getting some contact cement in there, and you can kind of see where it was, but it's not holding. I don't know. Sometimes it's better to just leave it alone rather than create a disaster by trying to fix it. Anyway, yeah, here's the submarine. These little things move up and down too. In fact, when I spray paint the outside of it, I'll be removing them so that I'll just put like toothpicks or something in the holes in which they go, so that they don't get like stuck on. Anyway, yeah, that's it. And this one shoots a missile. There's a little spring inside of this. There's actually a lever. It works, but I'm not going to let it work. But I am going to put a missile emerging from it just to show it. So I think this came out pretty well. I think I did a pretty decent job of painting the detail, especially up like in the control room and the galley. I'm kind of happy about how those turned out. And what I really hope is that all the work I did in painting all of that detail doesn't get destroyed by the spray painting process. Yeah, that's what I'm hoping, is that it doesn't get destroyed. So that's why I'm going to spend a lot of time very carefully masking all of this area. Anyway, put this back before I do something. In case anyone is interested in the 1960s vintage Renwall cutaway submarine, there goes the Octopus. I have 2 kits left, 2 out of the 3, and I can guarantee that between those 2 kits, there are enough pieces to complete one submarine. The problem is that some of the pieces they're very badly molded. It's injection molded, and there wasn't enough plastic that went into the molds on a couple of the pieces. So anybody who would want to tackle that might have to do some modifications or compromise on it. But there are enough pieces in those 2 kits to make one. Some of them are already slightly assembled. You'd have to take them apart and remove some of the cement. Some are painted, and you probably want to remove that paint because it's very poorly painted. But if there's any interest in that, for the price of postage, I would gladly send those 2 kits to anybody who would like to give it a go. So, something to keep in mind. If you're watching this, I don't know how you would let me know. I guess through social media, to which I pay no attention, but hopefully maybe Alexis or Nicole would. I could try to sell them on eBay, but I don't want to do that. It would be too hard to describe the situation. But if anyone is interested in trying to build a submarine like the one I just showed you, I've got there are enough parts to do that. Well, I'm going to wrap up a little bit early. I'm done with the Octopus. I did some sanding on the base of the fold down part of the submarine, so that's ready to respray over the weekend. And next Wednesday, I'll unveil that. And also on Wednesday, I'll be masking the rest of the submarine, because that has to be done in order to spray paint the hull, which I might then do like on Thursday so I can show it off on Friday. And then I'll also be working on the Apollo stacks. You didn't see that today because that's also big and messy and complicated, but you'll be seeing that on Wednesday. So I want to thank everybody who joined in today for Relaxing Painting with Dice and Dungeons. Thanks for rejoining after my absence, and I look forward again to you joining in on Wednesday of next week. In the meantime, remember that Dice and Dungeons is a Dungeons and Dragons campaign group, and our Dungeons and Dragons show is amazing, and you should watch it either on a Twitch stream with live chat or later on YouTube, or listen to it as a podcast. Thanks, everybody. I guess that's it. Yeah, that's it. I will see you next week, Wednesday, at about 10 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. Bye.